Well, we've really we've heard today that we have a lot of challenges, and that tinkering around the edges of the current system really won't take us to where we need to be as a country. And if we're expecting P-12 student learners to really achieve at higher levels, if we expect the teachers we bring into the profession to function in a more challenging way, it follows that I think the entire policy environment surrounding the preparation, development, and rewarding of teachers needs to be reformed as well. And NCAPE is a big piece of that policy system. It's one piece in a very fragmented policy system, which is itself a very major problem that we have in this country. And when we look at some other countries, we do see that they've, in a very deliberate way, tried to eliminate that fragmentation. I'm a fan of the New Yorker. I read it mainly for its cartoons. And here's a little, I don't want an apple, Danny. Do you have any money? And what's interesting here is that there's no high tech in this classroom either, is there? And that says something about the image of today's classroom that a cartoonist or perhaps the general public has. Money is a perennial issue in education, and it certainly won't disappear anytime soon, and it undergirds a lot of the discussion that we're having today. As NCAPE has, in the last year, redesigned its processes, we've tried to think about the policy environment here in the United States and the forces that are calling for change in preparation programs. And I would like to just speak to a couple of those forces, because I think they're potentially very powerful and constructive drivers for reform if they're interpreted in the constructive manner that they should be. The first one is the Obama administration. And I want to say 3 or 4 things about the current administration. First and foremost, the Obama administration is focused on improving P-12 student performance. And it takes quite an agnostic perspective on how teachers get to competence in demonstrating P-12 student performance. So the focus is not really on candidate learning, but on P-12 student learning. This is a subtle but very significant shift that almost constitutes a paradigm shift. And we have not developed in accreditation or in the policy system in general the performance data that we need to address this shift. First of all, we don't have the performance information about the pre-service programs that would tell us about the capacity of the candidates who are leaving the programs to improve P-12 student learning, although there have been pieces within that performance system. And secondly, we really don't have follow-up information on the candidates that's adequate. There's a lot of discussion right now about value-added assessment. It's the coin of the realm, but it is not alone going to provide us with the kind of performance information we need. So this is a very major challenge that the Obama administration has laid out. It's really embedded within its guidelines around Race to the Top and its I-3 program. Secondly, the administration is very interested in disruptive innovations and technologies. And and of course, Susan Patrick was just talking about some of these issues in her remarks. I think the model that Tom was talking about this morning around learning studios would constitute, without doubt, a disruptive technology. Distance learning is a disruptive technology to the extent that the institutions, that schools and preparation programs are unable to embrace them fully. The change must come from the outside. And I think this administration is very determined to support through grants and aids and regulatory reforms these disruptive technologies. Thirdly, the Secretary has made it very clear that what preparation programs need to focus on is much closer alignment with P-12 schools. Better sourcing of the talent pool that the districts need so that the supply and demand equilibrium is there. Better preparation of the candidates to teach diverse learners, etc. And in his Teachers College speech, Secretary Duncan was very critical of preparation programs by and large. And if you haven't had a chance to read that speech, I highly recommend it. And I think it's on the website here, isn't it? It's a very sobering analysis. But in this, out of this criticism, I think there is an opportunity for us who are involved in preparation of teachers to think about simultaneous transformation of both P-12 schools to improve student learning and the preparation programs. This is how NCATE has been thinking about this, and it's really in some ways a very old problem that we've had, whether to prepare students for the schools that we have now or the schools that should be. And simultaneous transformation is one way of thinking about that. I'll have something more to say about that. The final thing I want to say about the demands coming from the Obama administration are around the Common Core standards. Hopefully these will reflect 21st century skill expectations. But the development of these standards is going to drive change in classroom practices only if there are more powerful and appropriate assessments. Peter commented on that this morning. Only if we redesign preparation programs to focus on teaching of higher order skills and prepare teachers to assess their students in a formative manner, among other things. So the reform of teacher preparation is very much linked to our success in raising P-12 student achievement. Secondly, InTask, as you might know, is what would be the appropriate word here, I guess, renewing, redesigning the next generation of its standards. And there's very definitely a focus on technology and diversity in there, among other things. I think this will be a very, potentially a very important driver of reforms of licensure and certainly of state program approval standards. And NCATE is part of those discussions and is very much interested in seeing those changes. Susan Patrick talked about the importance of new delivery models to deal with teacher shortages, to deal with the need for AP classes. The InTask standards can be a real driver in this regard. Usually when I speak with deans and faculty members, I